It's fair to say that mid-size sedans and cars in general are falling out of style here in the US because at $30,000, buyers would prefer a RAV4, Honda CR-V, maybe even a Mazda CX-5 instead of a Camry or Honda Accord. But if there's one car that could save this segment and propel it into a whole new generation and maybe even decade, it will be the Camry because it is the best seller and has been the best seller for the last 25 years. But the 9th generation Camry is more than just being an economical and affordable choice and a car that is reliable and has that great heritage. This generation is everything all in one package, as we experienced with the XLE. But if you're somebody who wants to spend around $30,000 and you want a car that is very well balanced, the SE might be the choice for you. It's not just going to be a car that is economical, it can also be fun to drive as well. And in today's video, we're going to check out what the SE has to offer for 2025. We're going to take a look at the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why the SE might be the trim to go with if you are looking at buying a Camry. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and thank you to AutoFair Toyota in Tewksbury, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the Toyota Camry once again. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Toyota inventory. So as always, let's begin with pricing. With the SE, you're looking at a starting cost of just under $31,000 to start, placing it between the LE and XLE in the lineup. Now, I know a lot of you guys were concerned about the XLE's pricing because the model we had featured was right around $43,000, which does kind of teeter on being a luxury car rather than being mainstream. But with the SE, you can get a well-equipped model at around 36 grand like we have here today. That does include all-wheel drive. So if you're looking for a vehicle that is versatile and year-round capable, you might want to go with that all-wheel drive system that is optional for this trim. More importantly though, with the SE, you do get a sports tune suspension. Now, it's not going to feel like the TRD from last generation, but you are going to have a new dynamic thrown into the mix with this car because with the Camry only being a hybrid, it's efficient, it's practical, and also economical. But with the sports tune suspension, it's also fun. And with that fun factor, it makes its way to the exterior. And just like we talked about with the XLE, all four trims have their own distinct appearance, and the SE is most certainly no exception. So up front, you are going to notice the honeycomb mesh grille, which is very prominent on our model because it contrasts very well with the white paint color that we have here for this Camry. Just like we saw with the XLE, you will have active side air curtains, which is so great to see on this car because a lot of manufacturers, especially at this price point, will give you fake vents and fake grills, and it just doesn't look good at all. But all the vents you do see for this model are active, they are functional, and it just gives this car a much more substantial presence on the roadways. Now, you are going to notice the striking body lines on the hood and for the bumper itself, and that matches the headlight housings. And with the SE, you are going to get LED headlights for better visibility late at night or in adverse weather conditions. Now, doubling down on the sportier attributes of this car, you are going to notice the gloss black emblem for the Toyota badge on the front end of the Camry, and it gives you a nice lower profile appearance for this model today. So I love the look of this car. That's what drew me back in to come back here and check out this car. Then taking a look at the side profile, what's different for our SE that you're not going to find for a lot of other SEs out there? That's right, we have the optional 19-inch alloy wheels that we had for the XLE. And as I talked about during that review, this is the wheel package to go with. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, but with the 19s, that's more road noise. Why would I go with the 19s? Well, with the 18s, they're in a gloss black finish, and those are difficult to keep clean. I can speak from experience, having owned cars with a gloss black wheel setup. So if you're looking for a car that does look a bit more upscale, go with the 19s. These look fantastic, especially from the side profile, and it definitely doesn't make this car look like an SE. It kind of looks like an XLE or XSE at first glance, and it just adds a lot to the appearance of this car. More surprising though, is that we do have color matched side mirror caps. I was expecting gloss black when I saw the SE in person, and I thought that, well, with the gloss black accents and the contrasting front fascia with the honeycomb mesh grille, wouldn't they throw in gloss black? Well, I'm glad to see they didn't do that because it goes very well with the design of the Camry. You will have turn signal indicators, but more importantly, blind spot detection and rear cross traffic alert for added safety. Then as you make your way around to the back, there are a few things I do want to point out here about the SE, because there is some differences compared to the XLE that I had featured a couple weeks ago. One being the fact that with the SE, you do not get full LED taillights. So you will have incandescent turn signals, but I'm not surprised, nor am I disappointed to see that, because for a vehicle at $30,000, that's very rare to find. Now you're also going to notice with the SE a subtle deck lid spoiler. It's not aggressive, nor does it draw a lot of attention, but it does tie in with the body lines of this car very well. You're also going to notice the gloss black badging, which adds a nice color contrast on our model today. Then for the lower portion of the rear bumper, you will have dual exhaust outlets, which I'm glad to see they're visible, because a lot of manufacturers tuck them beneath the bumper. And yeah, it does look clean, but for a hybrid, that does go a long way. And then wrapping up the final third of this sedan is the cladding for the rear diffuser itself. And we're seeing a lot more of that now, such as with the Subaru WRX. But because a lot of manufacturers want a rugged look to their cars, this makes a lot of sense. And with this Camry having all-wheel drive, I think it does pair up very well with the sedan you might be driving in the winter. Stepping inside the SE we have today, we're greeted by heated soft-tech seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side having 8-way power adjustability, whereas the passenger will have to manually find their ideal seating position, which I'm not too surprised at all for a car that starts at just over $30,000. But more importantly for this trim is that it does feel somewhat upscale for its price point, because typically at $30,000, for a mid-size sedan, you're not going to find leatherette material for the seats. And in fact, it's just going to be cloth. Now, some of you might prefer that because it'll be easier to clean, or maybe you feel it's more comfortable. But I love the soft-tex upholstery in this car because it definitely adds to the driving environment and suits the SE very well, since this trim does have a sports tune suspension. Now, I do notice though that with these seats, they're a bit firmer, which is to be expected. This is not a luxe trim, so if you are looking for that, go with the LE or XLE. I am a bit surprised though that the bolstering isn't too aggressive. I would expect a bit more for a car with the SE badge. But outside of that though, this is still going to be an economical and family-friendly daily driver. What I also noticed too, and I saw this with the XLE, but I'm surprised to see this in the SE, is that Toyota's starting to throw in some contrasting accents for the interior. More specifically, this cloth-like material on the door panels and dashboard, which does elevate the driving experience just a bit more. I also think a lot of you are going to like that for the center console, it's not gloss black. It is more of a black material, but it's going to be easier to clean than what you found in the XLE, because I know some of you did not like to see that in that trim. But for the SE, this is probably going to be more suitable for you, especially if you're concerned about fingerprints being all over the interior. But you are going to see the gloss black for your infotainment system, and that will connect into your air vents on the passenger side. More importantly, and this goes hand in hand with your heated front seats, you are going to get a heated leather wrap steering wheel with paddle shifters if you do go with the climate package, which is only $500. I think it's definitely worth it, especially if you do live up here in New England and you experience cold weather throughout the year. In front of you will be a digital gauge cluster. It's not going to be the same layout that we saw in the XLE, but it does provide a decent amount of information. You can customize what you see from the screen by using the buttons on the left side of the steering wheel. And you can see everything from your fuel range to your safety system, so you can turn your lane departure warning off and on, your blind spot monitoring system. I'll keep all of this on for safety and peace of mind, especially if you do have a young family that's tagging along with you on your daily journeys. You can also change your radio settings from here as well by using the buttons on the left side of the steering wheel, so you can change between FM, AM, Sirius XM, Apple Music, and Amazon Music. And lastly, you can also customize your adaptive cruise control from this screen and check on your fuel economy statistics. Then taking a look at your infotainment system, our model does have the 8-inch touchscreen, but you can upgrade to the 12-inch screen if you so desire. I think a lot of you who don't want a tech-filled experience, you're going to like this layout for sure. Now, this is the exact same head unit that we saw in the XLE, so nothing different here in regards to your functionalities, your layout. You will be able to subscribe for onboard navigation, but most likely through Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, you would just use Google Maps or Waze. And just like we've experienced with other Toyota and Lexus products, there is no home screen, so there will be quick access icons on the left side of the screen to get you to different menus efficiently. I do think if you are cross-shopping the Camry with some close rivals, such as the Subaru Legacy, maybe even the Honda Accord, you might like this screen a bit more in the Camry, especially at this price range. Now through this head unit, you can scroll through a number of vehicle settings and general settings. We've kind of gone over this before with other Toyota products, so I'm not going to bore you and be repetitive with all of that today. You are going to receive a rear backup camera with trajectory, as always, since that is mandated. And what I do like is that the resolution and quality is pretty good for a vehicle that starts at around 30 grand. You'll also have a 180-degree view as well, giving you a wider angle when you are backing up. Maybe if you are in a tight garage, or maybe you want to park on some city streets, you can do that very safely. Continuing on, beneath the head unit, you are going to find your buttons for your dual zone climate control. That is standard for the SE, so no optional packages necessary for that feature. You'll also find the buttons for your 3-level heated seats, your heated steering wheel, AC, front and rear defrosters, and then fan speed and fan direction. For the center console, you'll find 2 USB-C inputs, a USB-A outlet, a wireless phone charging pad, then also a nice storage compartment for some smaller items, maybe a couple wallets, smartphones, or other tech gadgets. You'll have 2 cup holders, as always, and just like we saw with the XLE, the exact same layout. You have your drive mode selector for Eco, Normal, Sport, your auto vehicle hold button, EV mode, and electronic parking brake. For the center storage compartment, you'll have plenty of room for some smaller items, and you'll also have a 12-volt outlet. And then to round out the front seating area, you can get a power moonroof, which is not equipped on our model today, but if you do want to have some extra light entering the cabin, you can most certainly receive that with this trim. Then moving on to the second row, the only key difference here would be the fact you don't get the panoramic moonroof for the SE. So you have a lot more headroom to work with. The interior does feel a bit larger than what I experienced in the XLE. So if you do have taller passengers sitting in the back at all times, you might want to go with the SE. Better yet, just like we saw with the XLE, you are going to get 38 inches of legroom back here. So everyone should be comfortable. And also with the Softex upholstery, you have a lot more grip and bolstering. So when your driver is on a winding back road, or maybe is driving aggressively, you won't be swinging around too much back here at all. Now, just like we saw with the XLE, you are going to have 2 center-mounted air vents, and you're also going to receive a USB-A and USB-C input. And then to round out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. And then making our way around to the back one more time to check out the rear cargo area for the SE. No surprises here. You're not going to get a power trunk. That would be reserved for a vehicle around $50,000 to $60,000. And just like we're going to see across all 4 trims for 2025, you're going to receive right around 15 cubic feet of room behind the second row seats, which is no different than last generation. So if you're looking for a vehicle that is practical and also more upsized than, say, a Toyota Corolla or Honda Civic, the Camry is going to give you a lot of practicality here. This falls right in line with all of its closest competitors in this market. Of course, you can lower the second row seats for more space, so if you do have longer items, maybe a couple boxes or maybe even a table or 2, you can store everything back here with no issues. Then tucked beneath the floor mat, you are going to find a spare tire, so if you encounter a flat on your road trips or travels, you can fix that and be back on the road. And lastly, with the SE, you are going to receive a 2.5-liter hybrid 4-cylinder engine. Since we have all-wheel drive, that will produce 225 horsepower. And across all trims for 2025, you are going to receive an eCVT. But none of that really matters, though, because this car does feel rather smooth on the roadways, especially at highway speeds. Now, since we are on the highway, might as well talk about the interior insulation. Now, it is a bit more audible than with the XLE, because the XLE does have higher quality materials on the dashboard. There's better interior insulation. And also with the SE that we have today, we have the 9-inch wheels. So if you're looking for a quieter experience, go with the 18s. But honestly, with the 19s, it's not too bad at all. Better yet, and the reason why I am here today for the SE is because with this trim, you get a sports tuned suspension. And that will give you a lot more confidence when you are on back roads or on ramps or off ramps, as we are about to demonstrate right now. Now, one thing I had felt with the XLE, especially in sport mode, is that the steering was firm and decently weighted. And with the sports tuned suspension, I feel as though the Camry doubles down on that. It does feel spry and athletic. And sure, I do miss the V6, but for a car at around $30,000 to start, this feels a lot more fun and exciting to drive than a similarly priced Honda Accord. Also, I love the braking feel as well. Better yet with this powertrain It's very compliant and competent, where it's not gasping for air, it doesn't need more power, you feel the electric propulsion, and compared to last generation, this car just feels more dialed in, especially for an enthusiast. Now, I did get a question on the XLE review wondering, is the handling and steering more firm and weighted than the outgoing generation? And especially with the SE, absolutely. Because the last time I featured the Camry for last generation, I wasn't overly impressed. Obviously, it didn't have the V6, so I would have been more in tune with that engine and powertrain. But for 2025, the way Toyota has engineered and designed this car, it just feels really well balanced. And even though it's not the sportiest car out there, because you're going to find sportier alternatives in the more affordable markets for the smaller cars like the Honda Civic Si, GR Corolla, the Camry, on the other hand, is a car that can definitely please you when you are on the roads, where, one, you are going to receive some feedback in the corners, but you're also still going to get that refinement and quality. So it's the best of both worlds. It's not one-dimensional. It's not a car that only has one characteristic and then everything else is more of a flaw. This car just doesn't feel like it has a weakness in any way, shape, or form. Now, I think some people are going to say, well, what about the technology with the SE? Because you start out with a smaller digital gauge cluster and the 8-inch touchscreen. Honestly, I don't mind the 8-inch screen, especially with this updated head unit. And also with the smaller gauge cluster, I think a lot of buyers who don't want a lot of tech in their cars are going to find this to be more than adequate. And the way our model is configured today, it does feel somewhat like last generation's Camry, but at the same time, the way they've revised the chassis and the suspension, it doesn't feel like an older car. It doesn't feel like a car that's still built on the same platform as its predecessor, and I think a lot of you are going to love that about this sedan. Also, for those who do care about comfort when you are driving to work or maybe going on a longer road trip, these Softex seats are fantastic. Now, they're a bit firmer than the cloth upholstery and even the leather upholstery that we had in the XLE. I don't mind that too much. Now, I would like to see a bit more bolstering to these seats in future model years, but because this is a sedan that a lot of you are looking to buy as just being an economical daily driver and also an affordable daily driver, at that, maybe you're not looking for the stiffest bolstering or the most firmest bolstering out of the front seats. But I have to say though, even with the sports tune suspension, this car feels very well refined. And when you are cruising at around 40 miles an hour, the interior insulation is top notch. And I still think, even in this trim, because we can talk about the XLE and the XSE, I still think the SE is better than the Honda Accord. I really do. And in regards to technology, at around $31,000 to start, I do think this is very competitive with Hyundai and Kia. Well, I think some people are going to get drawn in by the technology, full digital gauge cluster, especially for the Camry on the higher end. If you don't care about that in your daily driver, you're going to love the SE. This is a great car for somebody that is on a stricter budget, but also wants more of a traditional layout to their interiors. And as I said with the XLE, but I feel it more so now having experienced the SE today, this is the best generation Toyota has ever made for the Camry. And it's not just the new technology, it's not just the fact that it's the hybrid powertrain. This car just has it all. And the last generation Camry didn't have that. Sure, I think Toyota started to double down on their performance side of things with last generation, but this time around, they've given you a car that has some great performance, but also is still economical and, better yet, affordable. And a lot of manufacturers have a very difficult time balancing all of that in one package. And here we are with the Camry SE. And I feel like with this trim, you'd be very happy at the end of the day. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Camry SE. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys next time.